How can taking on more roles and responsibilities as an engineering professional help you to grow in your career? And how can you go about doing it? Well, in this week's Engineering Management Lessons video, I have with me Ryan Welke. Ryan's an architect and a project management group leader at ISG. And Ryan, you're going to think back to a time in your career where there was a really big jump, big growth spurt, and tell us how and why that happened.
Yeah, the first point that comes to mind for me, as I mentioned, I transitioned from our La Crosse to our Sioux Falls office. One, I think our leadership team at the time giving the trust in me to move out to Sioux Falls, where we're starting an organic office. And so is myself and one other individual, so are now David Dockstead, our president of ISG. So one, allowing me the opportunity to go out there, putting some trust into me, but then also, not that I was on an island out there. David was a great resource along the way, a lot of expertise. He's a civil engineer. So there was a lot of things him and I bounced off each other, but then I didn't have the same resources that I had in La Crosse between some of our architects, structural engineers that were right in the office, that face-to-face conversation. So I think that really, I would say, springboarded me to a lot of things, maybe made me dig in and do a little more research. But then also we had a really big project at the time in South Dakota that I was leading through the construction phase. So there was a lot of, I'll say, bullets coming at me in the construction phase from the subcontractors, contractors, from some of the design questions. So I think for me, just kind of being out on the island without being on an island had forced some of that intentional communication. I had to pick up the phone and call individuals and communicate, because we didn't have as large an office as some of our other locations. But then also getting out in the community. We wanted to build some brand awareness for ISG, get out in the community, start to meet people. So it was really important for me to get to meet with all those leaders within the community. So asking them questions, asking them for advice, I would say that was the first big start to a springboard into my career growth.
That's great. And what I really like about that is it was kind of like, I've worked for a small engineering firm at one point in my career, a couple of like 5 people. And I felt a lot of what you said because I was on my own. I had to try to figure out a lot of stuff. And sometimes when people go work for bigger companies, they think that that's not possible anymore. But in your situation, like you said, you were kind of like on an island, but not on an island. So you can work in a larger company and still be in a small group, a small team, a small office, which I think is a great learning experience for someone in this field, because you have to do a lot of things on your own. Like you said, you got to get out and talk to people. You got to get on the technical side of the projects. And so if you're out there in your career and you're thinking, how can I really grow? Maybe you need to get into a role or a division or a department where you have just more responsibilities still with that support. So Ryan, thanks so much for sharing that with us. It really means a lot.
Yeah, you bet.
I hope you enjoyed Ryan's message there. It is an important one. We all need to push ourselves to take on more roles and more responsibilities, and I hope you'll consider doing so. Please consider subscribing to our channel here. We put out videos like this on a weekly basis to help engineering professionals become better managers and leaders. I'll see you next week.